Hey guys, my name is Jasmine. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you'll never miss an episode. Today I'm filming from my office, but believe it or not, several years ago I started my clothing business from my bedroom in my parents' home. Now, a lot of times when we want to pursue these passions that we have, we feel like we don't have enough space, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough resources, but I'm telling you, it's completely possible to start right where you're at right now. Honestly, you guys, people who have built major businesses have started from their home, so this can be the start of something amazing. So today I'm going to share with you how I was able to start my clothing business from my bedroom, and also the resources and things that I bought to start my home studio. So the first thing I did was created a plan. Have you ever heard that saying, those who fail to plan to fail? Well, it's completely true. If you don't have some kind of idea of what you're creating and why you're creating it for, you will fail. So make sure that you know who you're selling to, who your customer is, that you understand their needs, that you're creating something that's going to actually impact their lives and not just creating something because you want to be a fashion designer. Honestly, you guys, I feel like if you don't have a purpose or mission behind your brand, there is no reason to start a brand. So make sure that you are serving an actual need and that you have a concept of like what this thing's going to look like. One thing that I did was I used this business planning site, and I'll include the link in the description because I can't think of the name right now. But I used this site that had different templates for business plans where I could just download a template and fill in my information. And this made the process so much easier for me because I didn't really know much about business plans, but they had templates already structured for people who had fashion businesses. So then I just plugged in all the information that I wanted to do for my business and then did my first business plan like that. Next, I bought a corkboard from a craft store. I think it's Hobby Lobby that I purchased it from, but I began creating a mood board of inspiration of what I wanted to do for my brand. I also used Pinterest to pin some ideas, and I went from there. Next, I needed funding. So when I started my business, I didn't have a ton of money to start a business with. I probably had some money in savings, but I couldn't use all of it to start a fashion business. So I knew I needed to raise capital some other way. And the way that I chose to do that is through crowdfunding. And I use a crowdfunding campaign site called Indiegogo.com, which allows the public to invest in your business, but instead of equity, they'll get product back. So I had to create a campaign showcasing all the plans for my brand, the pieces that we were thinking about producing, and the amount that I needed to raise. From that, I was able to raise several $1,000s to produce my collection. But before I even started the campaign, because you have to show some product to do the crowdfunding campaign, I started to sketch out my designs. And I know a lot of people's reservations with starting a fashion brand is that they don't have experience or they don't know how to sketch. And for me, I did have a background in fashion, so I did know how to design. However, if you're just starting out, a great resource to use is Fiverr. Fiverr is a marketplace full of freelancers, and there's a ton of freelancers on Fiverr that are able to sketch and do tech packs and all those things for you. So if you have these ideas in your head, you can go on Fiverr.com, work with a freelancer, and have them bring your designs to life. So I went ahead and designed all of my pieces, and then after that, I began sourcing fabric. Now, I live in Los Angeles, so it was super easy for me to run down to the garment district every weekend and start sourcing fabric that I wanted to use with mine. Now, if you don't live in a city that has a garment district, it's completely fine. Just do your research online, start finding different fabric companies, and make sure it's wholesale, you guys. Make sure it's wholesale fabric companies so that you will be able to reorder it. And then ask them to send you swatches or headers. So a header looks like this, and basically the fabric companies will send you a header with swatches on it so you can actually feel the weight and the feel and see what colors the fabrics come in. And so if you email a fabric company and ask them to send you headers or swatches, they'll probably charge you for shipping, but you can get your fabric like that. So once I had the fabric that I wanted to use, I had my designs, I started doing measurements of the designs, the specs. I then found a pattern maker / sample maker to go ahead and make my first prototype. So I made the prototypes, and this is what I photographed and threw up on my crowdfunding campaign to get people to invest in what I was building. So after the crowdfunding campaign was funded, I began to invest in different areas into my business. One of those areas was to produce a collection. So I put some money to produce the collection. I only started off with 3 styles because, again, I didn't have tons of money to spend. and I knew I could just start somewhere with some core pieces. So I started with 3 styles, and I had these produced in small quantities. So I produced about 30 pieces each just to see if it was a viable idea. Now, if you don't really understand the apparel production process, I created a free resource that kind of takes you from the beginning to the end, from design to production, and it gives you all of the steps on how to go from design to a tangible product. So if you're interested in that, I will put the link in the description, but I'm also going to include somewhere in this video a link to the site, which is makegoodfashion.com/production checklist, and you can go and download it for free there. So while I was getting ready to produce all of my pieces, I started purchasing some things for my home studio so I can actually get my business going. So some things I purchased was a nice and narrow rack to hang my clothes on, hang samples on, and all of that. And I purchased this rack from Ikea, and it was only $9, I believe, at the time. I don't know if it's the same price, but I will put it somewhere here. I also purchased a baker's rack, which I purchased on Amazon. In this baker's rack, I used to put my inventory, and I really like the baker's rack because it was a rolling rack. It was thin enough to fit in my room, but I could also roll it around when I needed more space or when I needed to adjust my space for whatever I was working on. I also purchased some tubs to put the inventory in and to put on those baker's racks. Another thing I purchased was a Dymo label printer, and this was to print shipping labels that I would be printing once I had my tangible product. Now, let me just say this. Dymo is great, however, I had a lot of trouble with it and eventually switched over to a much cheaper option that I'm going to include a link for from Amazon, and it worked just as good, if not better, than Dymo. Sorry, Dymo, I'm not trying to shade you. This one worked a lot better, and I saved a lot of money from it. And I also purchased some packaging. And so I purchased packaging from a company called Eco Enclose, and they are a sustainable packaging company. So I was able to get some recycled poly mailers, which was totally in line with my company's values. And they had so many options for customization, but at the time I just got everything blank because, again, I didn't have tons of money to be investing and getting custom printed poly bags. I also bought these cool note cards that I could write a handwritten thank you letter because I wanted to personalize it, which eventually I wasn't able to do anymore. Once your company grows, you don't have time to be sitting there doing handwritten letters, but at the time it was such a personal touch, and I really loved that, and I think my customers did too. So I got these postcards on moo.com, and they were super cool and super useful. So another thing that I purchased was a huge foam board, and it was just a white foam board that I still have to this day that I use because it was super easy to store in any place. Like I could store it against the wall, I could store it under my bed. So it was super easy to hide, and then I would use it to take content photos. So I would take my own content for Instagram. I would lay this big foam core board on my bed and then shoot product shots on it. And so this was great because I didn't have to like hire a photographer or influencer to just take these simple product shots. I did hire a photographer for like campaign shoots and for my e-commerce sites, but for my own content for just Instagram, I was able to capture some really beautiful photos just using this foam core board right against a window in my bedroom on top of my bed. While all of this was happening, people would see my content and think that our brand was so much bigger than it was at the time. And so it just goes to show that you can really create beautiful content and build a beautiful brand anywhere. In terms of software, some software that I bought. So I did start using Shopify, and Shopify was amazing. I still think, hands down to this day, Shopify is the best e-commerce platform that you can be using if you're starting a e-commerce site. And Shopify was amazing because it had a bunch of plugins that I could use to like up-level my business. So it had everything I needed in one spot, a huge robust app store that had all the things. And then also they had templates that are already made that were fully customizable, which I loved because I didn't have to spend money hiring a web designer to create a custom site, but I could just customize one of their templates that was already gorgeous to begin with. I also got Adobe Illustrator, which again, if you're not a designer, you don't have to worry about Adobe Illustrator. You can just outsource that work, but I wanted to design my own pieces. And so I got Adobe Illustrator for that. And then I also invested in Planoly, which is a Instagram planning tool, which works super well and helps you to batch content and plan out your content in advance and then auto schedule it to go out. And this was super important to me because I knew that before I had product, I needed to start to build my audience. And so before I even started manufacturing, I created an Instagram for the business and started to promote what was to come, start to post samples and just the process of me building this business. And so once the pieces were produced, I brought them back home, put them in these tubs in my bedroom, and began selling from there. So building a clothing business from home is completely possible, you guys. I started really small, started just, like I said, with a plan and a concept, and took it from there and was able to grow it so much. There were some amazing times that I spent in that bedroom just working with what I had. So I hope this was inspiring to you. If you want more details about how I started my clothing business from home, leave a comment and I'll get back to you, and leave some suggestions about more videos that you would want me to create and more things that you want to see. Building a business from home wasn't always the most convenient thing at times, but it was such a great experience and literally anybody can do it. So I hope this was inspiring to you. Again, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.